This video takes us through part 3, brotherly love, and there's only one question that we need to answer from this part. I'm going to start by reading the introduction, and then we'll go to the article that we need called Colonization. During its first 50 years, the United States transformed itself from a small republic into an expansive democracy for white Americans. The nation tripled its population, doubled in size, and extended slavery to parts of the western frontier. For Black Americans, this same period was a contradictory mix of community building for free Blacks and entrenched enslavement for those not yet emancipated. Emancipated means to be set free. Slavery grew stronger as the invention of the cotton gin and a booming Southern economy fueled the push westward. In cities like Philadelphia, free Blacks sought equal participation in American society by building churches and schools, forming beneficial societies, and petitioning their state legislature. In the aftermath of the Haitian Revolution, several slave uprisings, including Gabriel's Rebellion, Denmark Vesey's Plot, and Nat Turner's Revolt, were poignant reminders of the human desire for freedom, regardless of the bloody consequences. All right, the article that we need is called Colonization, so I'm going to open that. And the question that we need to answer is number 12. What was the goal of the American Colonization Society? As the number of free Blacks living in northern cities increased, many whites became resentful. After 1800, white hostility toward Black residents grew. Wealthy whites feared vagrancy and crime, and poor whites resented the competition over jobs. As refugees fleeing the revolution in Saint-Domingue flocked into the country, concern over the influence of potential rebels mounted. This concern seemed justified by attempted insurrections in the South. 4th of July celebrations became the focus of racial hostility for whites and Blacks alike. On July 4th, 1804, in Philadelphia, several hundred young Blacks roughed up whites on the streets. The following year, whites turned on Blacks at the celebration in front of Independence Hall, chasing them away. This trend continued in subsequent years, effectively barring Blacks from participating in public celebrations of American independence. Discriminatory legislation began appearing in 1805, calling for bans on Black immigration or a special tax on Black households. The Black community, the Pennsylvania Abolition Society, and the Society of Friends petitioned the legislature, and the bills failed. White intolerance of free Blacks manifested itself at the national level with the formation of the American Colonization Society, founded in 1817 by the Reverend Robert Finley to help free Black people emigrate to Africa. With the assistance in Washington, D.C. of his brother-in-law, Elias B. Caldwell, clerk of the Supreme Court, and Francis Scott Key, author of the Star-Spangled Banner, he raised the support of prominent white men who agreed that sending freed Africans back to Africa would be best for all concerned. The society gained government support with its 1820 petition to Congress. The idea of colonization was not new. Since 1787, efforts had been made to find a home for freed Blacks out of America with both white and Black support. Paul Cuff, a free Black shipping merchant, was a proponent of colonization. He felt that Black people living in America would never be treated as equals and would be better off elsewhere. A Quaker convert, Cuff was inspired by the idea of bringing Christianity to Africa, and as a merchant, he was interested in establishing trade between Africa and the Black American businessmen. In 1811, Cuff sailed to Sierra Leone, a British colony on the west coast of Africa. James Forten, a prominent Black Philadelphian businessman, supported Cuff's schemes. Other Black leaders, such as Richard Allen and Absalom Jones, knew only too well the effects of prejudice and were interested in colonization. Soon after its founding, the American Colonization Society contacted James Forten to help recruit colonists from Philadelphia. On January 15, 1817, Black leaders called a meeting at Bethel to discuss the idea. Almost 3,000 Black men packed the church. Fortin and 3 prominent black ministers, Allen, Jones, and John Gloucester, spoke in favor of emigrating to Africa. However, when Fortin called for those in favor, not one voice answered. When he called for those opposed, one tremendous no rang out that seemed as it would bring down the walls of the building. As Fortin wrote to Paul Cuff, there was not one soul that was in favor of going to Africa. Free blacks across the country had varying responses to the question of colonization. In Richmond, the idea was also rejected, but Abraham Camp, a free black living in Illinois, a free state that was nonetheless inhospitable to blacks, embraced the idea, as his letter to the Secretary of the American Colonization Society attests. So that was the whole article. You definitely should have been able to get the answer to number 12. What was the goal of the American Colonization Society? And that's it for part 3.